The main thing is the weight of the story that hits you, that this is a massive story. And there's millions of people who depend on me for this particular story, particularly given the kind of work we had done the previous year during the coup. And people have high expectations, and you feel like, I wonder if I'll be able to tell the totality of this story in the limited time that I have in the country, with the limits of resources, because there's a whole story that could be told about how difficult it really is to operate in Zimbabwe, particularly in as far as regulations to do with electronic media are concerned. So, for instance, we got a lot of questions about, why are you guys only based in Harare? You're not telling us the story of what's happening in the villages. Well, the Zimbabwean authorities, in the way that they do things, you end up having to hire cameras in Zimbabwe because they've got a heavy duty that they charge you if you're bringing in your own equipment. Very, very heavy. Like, we're talking thousands of US dollars that an average broadcaster can't afford to pay. And that means that things like our SNG vans that we use for live broadcasts, we can't bring those in. You then have to hire in Zimbabwe. Those things have a limited range. And with us doing much of what we are doing live as a channel, once you leave, the radius in terms of the infrastructure as well, the radius for the 3G coverage is not great. So the moment you go into the townships of Harare, you suddenly can't go live. So let alone going to areas in Chinoi somewhere, Chimanimani, you will simply not have the network to be able to broadcast live. So those are some of the challenges. The expectations are high, but the environment and the resources don't allow you to do what you know that you should be doing. So it was a return for us, right?
Yes.
Going back to Zimbabwe this year. But last year was about a transition that was forced in a way because it happened due to military intervention and those protests. But this time around, it was about the expression of the will of the people. So I don't know about you, but I was looking forward to seeing how much change had happened in the country.
Yeah, no, what I recall about that time was like everybody was looking forward to getting a new president. The highlight was witnessing the former president Mugabe.
That was a big shot for you to get. Let's talk a bit about the process of getting that shot, because it was the first time that Robert Mugabe was going to be seen in public in that way since his ousting. Usually back in the days he would be voting as president and almost guaranteed that he was going to get it. This time around he was sort of in the political wilderness, and not many people knew where exactly he was going to vote, whether or not he was going to come through and vote. Remember how long we waited for that shot?
We were, and then to go live anyway, we almost missed that.
Yeah.
Because we heard the sirens coming through, and then we had to plug in fast. I ran without the live view, the one that we were broadcasting with.
Yeah.
You switch it on and connect it while I was on the camera. The other issue was that I had a big camera on the day, unfortunately, because we couldn't get our own equipment into Zimbabwe.
So because of the rules and
because
the laws
of the rules,
country,
yes, exactly.
We had to hire in Zimbabwe.
So I had one of those big cameras. It was so heavy.
Yeah.
So
about 4 kgs or something.
Roughly about that. At that moment, I had to make sure that, okay, I keep my shot steady, of which it was like a mission, because there were a lot of crowd. The security guard were also pushing away because people were trying to mob into Robert Mugabe. I think with praises, because some were like so happy, excited to see him coming in there. But now at that moment, I know I wasn't live. You had to come with the live view that we broadcast with.
Yeah.
Because now you know how it works, then you had to connect while I was on that thing. So,
it's part of that relationship that should be there between a camera person and a reporter out on a story. Because you and I had worked long enough. I knew that at that moment, because we had been waiting for this shot almost the whole day.
Exactly.
And then at that point at which it's about to happen, we were so relaxed because we didn't know what time this man is coming, and we had been there the whole day. And to be honest with you, I was a bit frustrated because I felt like it looks like we're going to spend voting day just at this particular voting station waiting for this man. And then we wait and we disconnect to save battery and we switch off. Not disconnect, switch off.
Yeah.
And the next thing, he just arrives unannounced, and there's no time to switch on the live view unit.
Because I had to rush in so that when he gets out of the car, I'm there. Because otherwise, if I don't do that, I won't be able to get in because of the crowds and everybody.
That time, there's a huge crowd around him. There's his presidential security, and you now have to hoist the camera, and it's heavy. It's like you now have to hold it above your head for endless periods of time.
I was holding at that. I mean, like after that, my hands were so tired because the thing I didn't know whether we live or not.
Yeah.
But all I knew that we were transmitting. My fear was like, I have to get this right.
Yeah.
It only happens once.
Yes.
If I miss that, it means like, how many viewers do we have?
This is why you prioritize that. Even if we're not live with it, you're going to record it.
I have to do that, yeah. So whether live or not live, the shot must be there.
That's why I then had to follow you and sort of connect our live unit for us to then take it live. At some point, I couldn't find you, and a studio was talking to me and trying to, get me in front of the camera, but you were lost somewhere in the crowd there.
No, I was there. I mean, even the connection with the studio, I lost it. I said, I'm just going to get the shot. Whether we're on live or not, they'll have to decide there. I think it went so well anyway, because at the end, I found myself so closer to the former president. Like when they put that
the ink on
the thumb, I was like about 45 centimeters from him. I was like, wow.
But you guys were at some point standing on some table inside that voting station there, and I was worried that table was going to break.
What happened, like I was the first one to go on the table. Like I went in there, then everybody was already there. They've set up already.
Yes.
The still photographers.
Inside the voting booth.
There was no way that I was going to get him voting.
Yeah, without standing on top of that table.
Exactly. I look at one of the officials and said, can I please clamp on? And he looked at me and said, please.
You're negotiating.
Before you could even say yes, I was on top of that thing. Then everybody followed. So I was like, gee, if this thing collapsed.
Yes, no, I was really worried that while you're trying to get the shot of, because you needed a vantage point to then be able to see him as it goes into the voting booth to vote. But I mean, you were standing on something that was a bit shaky.
Now everybody followed. Now I was like, we don't have to move. Like, once you stood there, get your thing. And then it worked.
When it comes to fake news, Zimbabwe really is, fertile ground for the spread of fake news. WhatsApp groups around the election, WhatsApp groups were the main thing, and people would be sending all sorts of WhatsApp groups. And sometimes you don't even subscribe yourself to these groups. You find your name added there, and you think, this might be useful, in terms of giving me tip-offs of stories that are happening. But and the next thing, you're just getting all these stories that you have absolutely no way of verifying. You have people sending you information that you think could potentially be credible, but you have absolutely no means to investigate further, particularly in the time that you have in the country. People saying, I work at this particular barracks, I'm part of the operation to rig the election, here's how we are doing it. In this particular province, in this particular constituency, we have so many people deployed to do this kind of rigging. And you absolutely have no way of verifying this information. And then you take the responsible decision to say that if I can't vouch for it, if I can't back it up, if I had to stand up and reveal what evidence I have and I would be found wanting, you sort of keep it at the back of your mind to ask questions of the relevant authorities when you have the opportunity to do so, but otherwise you really have no way of proving some of what is being said. It's even worse when you're now dealing with a situation where soldiers have opened fire in the city center in Harare after the voting, and the figure that they give you is that 6 people are dead and a few people injured, and other people are giving you alternative information that says actually the death toll could be much, much higher. You have no way of verifying. And also people are now afraid. I remember encountering people who were afraid to talk to media after the incidents of August 1, because there was a feeling that if you are seen now, because people had sort of taken comfort in the relative calm and peace that had preceded the election, and then people were shell-shocked by the events of August 1, and then suddenly they revert back to that reserved, keep my views to myself way of doing things that I have known Zimbabweans for because of the political environment of the last 30 or so years.